Hey VC, Crazy Jimmy here, coming at you on a Saturday night with a Vinyl Finds video. Got a few things to show you here, not everything, but did accumulate a few things since the last Vinyl Finds. And I will try to do more of these, because a lot of stuff that I do get kind of gets played and then shuffled into the bins. So there's a few things that I have received or found or bought, and it's ended up in the bin. So, but I did pull out a bunch of stuff that was put back in the bins, including stuff that's sitting out that needs to be played. So why don't we get rolling? The first one is the band The Quick. And this is Mondo Deco. I think this is their only full-length album on the Mercury label there. And if you've never heard of The Quick, this is from, I want to say this was 1976 or 75. I could be wrong. Someone I'm sure will correct me. But if you are a fan of like early Sparks, not later on, but early 70s Sparks, probably, their first, what they were doing on their first 3 to 4 albums, you will absolutely love The Quick. So it's got like a little bit of the Sparks, a little bit of Queen, thrown in for good measure. A little more power pop on this than you would find on a Sparks album, but just phenomenal. Check it out, The Quick, Mondo Deco. If you're a Queen and a Sparks fan, you will really love this album. Next up is a band or artist. Really, it's a band. Two people in this band. This features a guy from Piccadilly Line, in the early, like a late 60s psych band, and that band became Edward's Hand, and this is their first album, self-titled. And what's notable about this, this was released in 1969, and what's notable about this is George Martin kind of took a break from the Beatles and he produced this album. And let me tell you, it's phenomenal baroque psych pop. Really, it's psych pop at its finest. You really can't go wrong. GRT label right there. And this one happens to have a hype sticker. I never actually heard of this single. If I thought you'd ever change your mind, but it sure is catchy. This whole album is really good, front to back. Can't go wrong here. Anything George Martin touches, highly recommended. Next up, found this at a thrift shop, the Dangtrippers, and they put out 2 albums, one in 89 and one in 91. This is their only full-length released on vinyl, and it's on Doggone Records. And really cool. I really love the sleeve. When I saw it, it's like, I got to get this for the sleeve alone, and then I checked out a few tunes and really liked it. They sound mostly like early REM and maybe early Guided by Voices. Throw that in there too, because they sounded like early REM. So, but if you like REM and you like that late 80s power pop sound, that jangle pop sound that was coming out, you will definitely dig this album from the Dangtrippers. Days Between Stations is the name of the album. All right, next up, Hapshash and the Colored Coat Western Flyer. This is their second full-length album, and it's on Imperial Records. And I really love the front cover. You got like some cool, I don't know what century that's from, but cool nuns playing a flute, and there's the band. And let me show you the back here. I'll pull this album out because I kind of like the back cover. It's pretty cool. Right there, very psychedelic. So the best way I can describe this 1969 album is freak psych. So you know how there's like a freak folk genre? Well, this is freak psych. And it will bring to mind bands like Venus and Furs style Velvet Underground. There's a track on here called Blue Narcissus that reminds me of a little bit of VU there. And then it also brings to mind Country Joe and the Fish, like some of their trippier moments. Joe Bird in Metaphysical. I forgot the full name of that. But Joe Bird, if you like Joe Bird. Really trippy, very psych. Very psych. Even the vocals, too, remind me of like a Brian Ferry from Roxy Music at times. So definitely an acquired taste to get into those vocals. But really killer album on Imperial, 1969. Hapshash or Hapshash, however you want to pronounce it. We'll go Hapshash. And The Colored Coat, Western Flyers, the name of the album. Great stuff. Next up gets my vote for a top album from 1970. Paul Williams, Someday Man. Right there. This is Paul Williams' first album after he left the Holy Mackerel. And he did this album with Roger Nichols, his writing partner. And there's the back. Now, these two, Nichols and Williams, are famous for the tracks that, like, the Carpenters made big for them. I even think the Monkees had a hit with Someday Man. They cut Someday Man, and it hit, like, the bottom of the Billboard charts. But Williams and Nichols, that combo, that writing combo, hit it really big due to the Carpenters reimagining and rearranging some of their tracks. Now neither of those tracks that they made big on those Carpenter albums were on this one. This is just solid all the way through, though. The pop hooks on this. I mean, look, Pet Sounds is a top 5 album of all time for me. I'm not comparing this to Pet Sounds by any means, but I think it's up there. I mean, it just has that psych baroque pop all the way through that's mastered. Like, they've mastered it perfectly on this. The hooks on this are just from top to bottom. There's no filler on this album. I even like the vocals from Williams on this. Now, like I said, none of those songs the Carpenters made big. Like We've Only Just Begun is one of them that Williams and Nichols wrote. Not on this, but I actually don't like Williams' version of his own song. I like the Carpenters' version better. So, but there you have it. Someday Man, by far his best album. So check it out. And just so you guys know, I never really knew this until recent, but Paul Williams didn't write the music. He wrote the lyrics. It's Nichols that wrote all the music. So Paul Williams was the lyricist. Kind of like Goffin and King. Goffin was the lyricist. So I always thought Williams wrote his own music, but he didn't. He wrote the lyrics. So next up. Now this one here is a privately pressed album that I took a shot on. Just saw it and saw the cowboy hat, and I found this at a thrift shop for a really good price on Catfish Records. So that's a privately pressed. Everything that was on Catfish was by this guy here, Bill Staines, pretty much, and his partner. But this is really good folk psych, mostly on the folk side, country folk, but some psych. There's even some yodeling going on here, and when I say yodeling, this guy's won competitions for yodeling. Now, there's not yodeling throughout. There's only one track that has yodeling on it, but it's so good. So good. He mixes folk with yodeling. It's super unique. I just love this album. If you like folk, and a little bit of acid folk, little psych folk going on, little country folk going on, you will love Bill Staines. He's a New Englander from Massachusetts, or maybe he's from New Hampshire. but really good. And that was his, by the way, this is his 1972 release. And then here's one from 74 from him. This is called Miles. Also really good, really solid. You can't go wrong with either of these two if you like that genre, which I do. All right. Next up, this one I had to get online, but this is J.J. Light, Heya. And J.J. Light, his real name I think is like Spaldings. I think Jim Spaldings or Spallings. And he played bass in Doug Sahm's band. And he played bass on Medicino, that popular album that Doug Sahm and the Sir Douglas Quintet released in 1967. This guy was the bassist, and he went ahead and released his own solo LP in 1969 under the moniker J.J. Light, which was given to him by the dude from West Coast pop art experimental band, Bob Markley. Bob Markley gave him that moniker, J.J. Light. Don't know why, don't know what it means. Obviously, it's something to describe him and his relationship he had with Bob. But Bob produced this album as well. And I think he even had a hand in writing a song or two with him. But really good stuff. He's a Navajo Indian, I believe. And there's definitely some Tex-Mex going on this. There's some psych. There's some folk. There's some rock. There's a lot going on this album. First German press. Laminated sleeve on Liberty. So really good stuff. We got Hapshash and the Colored Coat featuring the Human Host and the Heavy Metal Kids. This is their first album. I didn't realize, I did just get this, but I didn't realize I had it in the pile. First UK press on Mint Records. And this one is completely different than the other one I showed you because they had lost some band members. So this has no vocals. This is completely instrumental, and this has vocals. So, this is completely instrumental, very psych. So if you like instrumental psych music, then you'll love this album. So check it out, Mint Records. Here's one I found at a thrift shop, Exuma II. Right there, love the cover. Not sure if that's like a crazy owl with teeth chewing on a leaf. I don't know, or it could be a bug. That's on Mercury. And the best way to describe this is Dr. John and the Dangtrippers, baby. Dr. John, Grizz Grizz. If you like that album, you will want to own Exuma 1 and 2. For sure. Very Dr. John, Grizz Grizz. I believe this dude's from Bahamas. So throw in some Bahama Psych as well. And you will get the idea here. Very, very, very tribal. Very unique. Very unique. And I think this was, I want to say this one's from 69 or 1970. Could be wrong though. Someone correct me. All right, next up, the Ballad of Shirley Goodness and the Mercies as told by Balderdash. And this is on Uni Records. This is really cool. So the best way I can describe this is Creedence Clearwater. I believe this was pressed in 1973 or 2. 71. So early 70s country rock, Americana, whatever you want to call it, but it reminds me so much of Creedence Clearwater. So check that out. The Ballad of Shirley Goodness and the Mercies as told by Balderdash. I think it's their only album too. All right, speaking of Doug Sahm and the band. Doug Sahm and the band, 1972. This album features Dr. John is part of the band. Bob Dylan is part of the band. I believe Ray Charles, saxophonist, is on this as well. T-Bone Walker is on this. So just an all-star cast for the band. And I believe this is Dylan's first appearance since 1970. So he took like a year and a half off. And then he pops up on Doug Sahm's album called Doug Sahm and the Band, 1972 on Atlantic Records. And what's cool here is Bob Dylan co-writes a song or writes a song called Wallflower on this. And it's so good. So good. So check this out if you like country rock and Tex-Mex. You will love that. Excuse me, I'm still a little under the weather. All right. Next up we have Bobby Brown. And not the Bobby Brown you're thinking. This is not the R&B Bobby Brown. Bobby Brown, the enlightenning beam of Axonda by Bobby Brown. This is a privately pressed acid archive album that I probably should do an acid archive on, but this is the original press, which is actually hard to find because a lot of what you find online is the repress. Let me show you. How you know you have an original press is there's no like $5 note down here, and there's no writing, there's no typeset down here in the bottom. And most of these originals were signed by Bobby, and he wrote, "Play treble up. What is Axonda?" And I can't read his writing. It says Bobby Brown signed. But he signed a lot of these original pressings. And this is absolutely crazy psych. I mean, this is really, really freaked out psych. That is like, reminds you of the far reaches of Pink Floyd, like the most out there Pink Floyd that Pink Floyd's done. With like these vocals, the guy has like 8 octaves in his voice. And the vocals, he uses his vocals like an instrument too. You've got to check out side one of this especially. I mean, this is so freaked out. And it's really great to listen to relax to. But some of the sounds that Bobby gets on this album, I mean, I just can't describe it. I cannot give you a reference point for this album. That's how crazy freaked out and psychedelic this is. So how this album is, you know, like 20 or 30, well, the original is like 30 or 40 bucks if you can find it. But you can find plenty of reissues from the early 70s of this, and you know, you can get one for 15 bucks. Crazy. I mean, this is like a $300 record to me. It's really that good. Anyways, all right. Well, lo and behold, look what I found out in the wild. Another one. One of my favorite albums, A Gift from Euphoria by Euphoria. And I already have, I've shown you guys the USA pressing I have. This is a Canadian pressing. So when I saw it, I'm like, yeah, baby, I got to pick this up. This is on the Capitol label. It's a gatefold sleeve, but really great country psych here. This is in the Acid Archives. So dig that. Here's one that's really cool. RCA label, Bob Martin, Midwest Farm Disaster. So really good folk or acid folk here. Very highly recommend early 70s acid folk. I love the genre, love the sound. We'll remind you of that Vince Martin album that's similar. So Bob Martin, Vince Martin, not brothers, but check that out. Really good stuff. Here's a privately pressed album on the Tilly label. Bucky and Barry, Volume 3. Right there. And I don't think this is in the Acid Archives, but it should be. It's really good acid folk. Closer to the folkier side, but this reminds me a little bit of Nick Drake and a little bit of James Taylor thrown in for good measure. It does have some psych elements, but it's more folky than psych, but it's still really good, well-written, well-sung, early 70s folk. So check out Bucky and Barry Volume 3. That can be had for a decent price. Next up, never have too many of these in the Shrink, Lothar and the Hand People. Space Hymn, what a friggin' brilliant album on the Capitol label. This album is super freaky. They used a theremin on this album. They were not the first to use a theremin. I believe Brian Wilson was on a pop album, but the first use of a theremin was on Pet Sounds on a pop album. I shouldn't say the first use. It's been used before that, but and then Lothar used it on both of their albums, and this is their second full-length album. Probably my favorite one from them, but I love both. So check that out. Very psychedelic. Very psychedelic. Got a few more here. All right. Found a Rollers. This was the Bay City Rollers. They changed their name to the Rollers. The name of the album is Elevator. This is the first album after they changed their name and got a new lead singer, and I love it. This is Cheap Trick power pop all day long. So I believe that's a pill on the front too. But don't let the Bay City Rollers released a lot of good albums. So don't let that that name fool you. This is a really good, strong power pop album that's just as good as any Cheap Trick album. So check that out. Singer-songwriter Marc Johnson, years. First press on the Vanguard label. Really overlooked singer-songwriter. Acid folk album, acid pop, a little baroque pop going on here. So certainly can't go wrong with that. 1972 this was released. I believe this is his only full length. But don't let this one pass you by. It's a good looking chap too, isn't he? All right, got a couple more. Two more. Lawrence Hammond, Presumed Lost. This one I had to get online. It's impossible to find. It was pressed only in, I think, the UK. But this is a double album and features Lawrence Hammond, who, by the way, was the lead singer of Mad River. This was supposed to be material for his second album released after Coyote's Dream, which I showed, I think, the last time around, which is right here. This is a masterpiece, by the way. Coyote's Dream is a masterpiece in Americana, country rock. It's not country rock. It's cosmic country, and it's a masterpiece. 1976. Well, this stuff here was written in 76 to like 81, but a lot of this is the right after Coyote's Dream and was meant for his follow-up that never got released. They thought all this stuff was gone. The master tapes were lost. Well, lo and behold, they were found, and this is not as good as Coyote's Dream, but it's really good. If you like Mad River and you like cosmic country done right, then check out that as well by Lawrence Hammond. And last but not least, a really killer album from the Left Bank. Killer. This is Left Bank 2. T-O-O, not the number 2. And let me tell you, this is so good. It's on the Smash label. It's not as good as their first one, Pretty Ballerina and Walk Away Renee, but it's underrated and it's close. I mean, it's close. This is great psychedelic baroque pop. And some of the ballads on this, actually all of the ballads on this are phenomenal. And Mike Brown, the lead singer and songwriter from the first album, is on this for 2 tracks. But the rest of it is the other 3 from the band, the remaining 3. And I think it gets knocked for that. But I think it's just as good as the first one. It's not better, but it's right up there. And I think you'd be doing yourself a disservice if you like their first one. You will definitely like their second one, Left Blank 2. So pick up an original pressing. These originals sound great. So you can't go wrong there. And they're really underpriced right now. You can get a clean original for like $40. So don't hesitate on that. as I lose my voice. All right, well, hey, thanks for watching Vinyl Finds 2. I'll be coming at you with the Vinyl Finds 3 real soon and some other content. So if you like what you see and hear, please hit subscribe, please like it, and please comment down below. Thanks for watching. Take care. Crazy Jimmy is out.